Israel on high alert. Ismail Haniyeh, the chief of Hamas, the political fountainhead of the Hamas organization that controlled Gaza, has finally been killed. While Gaza has been bombed, while thousands have died, the chief of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, lived a lavish life in Qatar, but it was yesterday in Tehran, the capital of Iran, where he was a guest for the inauguration of the country's new president, that Ismail Haniyeh died under what appear to be mysterious circumstances. It was very clearly an assassination, but did it actually go the way people believed it did? What we understand is that it was some kind of an airstrike, either from a jet or a drone, either from Israel or from elsewhere. We don't know just yet because not all the pieces of this puzzle have fallen into place. What we do know is that the chief of Hamas is dead. A person who was protecting him, his chief bodyguard, is also dead. And remember, there are no pictures, not a single photograph of the site where this assassination took place. The truth is, nearly 11 months after the October 7th attack by Hamas, which was cleared and ordered by Ismail Haniyeh, funded, bankrolled, armed and weaponized by the Iranian government, is now dead somewhere in the Iranian capital.
Ten months into the Israel-Gaza conflict, Israel has just scored its biggest hit on the Hamas. The group that mounted the biggest ever attack on the Jewish state on October 7th. The elusive chief of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated in an aerial strike at his place of residence in Iran's capital. Haniyeh, who had lived a lavish life in Qatar for years, was in Iran for the inauguration of the country's new president. At 2 a.m., a guided airborne projectile, unclear if fired from an aircraft or drone, struck the safe house meant for retired Iranian military officials in North Tehran, where the Hamas chief is staying. Along with the Hamas leader, one of his bodyguards was also killed, seeming to rule out a ground raid, as the assassination was initially believed to be. The absence of any open source imagery of smoke billowing from the attack site has raised questions. But the most plausible explanation could be a drone-operated remote-control precision hit good enough to take down two people without any collateral damage. The 62-year-old was born in a refugee camp near Gaza City. He joined Hamas in the late 1980s and swiftly rose through the ranks to become a close associate of Hamas's founder and spiritual leader, Sheikh Ahmad Yassin. Amid the Israel-Gaza war, Haniyeh acted as a negotiator in ceasefire talks. In April, Hamas claimed that Israeli airstrikes had killed 3 of Haniyeh's sons and 4 of his grandchildren still in Gaza. With the killing of Haniyeh, the only senior Hamas leader left is military wing chief Yahya Sinwar, believed to be the mastermind of the October 7 attack on Israel that ignited the war in Gaza. But there are many missing pieces to the Haniyeh assassination. Was there an American role in the killing? Was Haniyeh betrayed by his hosts in Iran? Will there be an escalation between Iran and Israel now? Or could the end of Hamas chief speed up the return of Israeli hostages, over 100 of which remain in bombed-out Gaza? Bureau Report, India Today.
Now remember, these are still early hours yet, and we still don't have full information of how Ismail Haniyeh was actually killed. There are several theories doing the rounds. Most people agree that this was an Israeli airstrike of some kind of missile or drone that struck the veterans accommodation in North Tehran, where Haniyeh was supposed to have been accommodated as a guest of the Iranian government. This was in that Tehran home. That's theory number one. The second is, of course, some kind of a drone attack by Israeli-backed forces that killed Haniyeh. The third theory, one that has not been substantiated at all, is that this was some kind of a commando ground raid and that Ismail Haniyeh was shot dead in the shower. This has been completely debunked. And theory four, that Haniyeh fell victim to internal rivalries within the Hamas itself, fueling speculation that he was sold out within Iran itself, or maybe he was betrayed. Could there have been factions within the Hamas who were vying for control and may have seen Ismail Haniyeh as a hindrance? Now, we don't know for sure, but most experts agree that this was an airstrike of some kind that finally ended the life of the Hamas chief. Remember, not a single picture has emerged in the public domain of the site of the attack. So we're still only working with secondary information coming in from Israel and the surrounding countries. Joining me live now to make sense of this big development, Lital Shemesh is a well-known Israeli TV anchor and journalist. Lieutenant Colonel Doron Avital is a former commander of the Israeli Defense Force. Welcome to the both of you. Thank you very much for your time. First of all, it's a big day for Israel, also a day to celebrate, given that Ismail Haniyeh is the man who was behind the attack that took place on October the 7th last year, triggering this fresh cycle of violence and conflict, that has bogged down Israel and Gaza for the last 11 months. Colonel Avital, I'd like to come to you first. Your assessment of how what happened. The assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran appears to be a pretty daring operation. How do you see it? How did it play out in your view, sir?
I think this is a very clean execution done from some distance. It requires intelligence in a level that it's hard to imagine, and a window of opportunity that the executors can use in order to utilize such a clean assassination where there's no collateral damage, nobody else is being hurt. Israel didn't take responsibility. Think that it was done in the guest house of the Revolutionary Guards, our arch enemy. So for them, it's really should really undermine them dramatically. I'm not sure it's Israel, but how did the intelligence penetrated into this location and succeeded to execute such a clean operation? And of course, this is the arch enemy of Israel. He and Sinwar are the political leader and the military leader of Hamas, the leader in Gaza and the leader outside of Gaza, and they were arch enemies, and is now gone.
Very interesting. Lital, if I could bring you in right now, the Israeli media is also full of theories about what may have happened. There appears to be a lack of clarity about the precise details, which is not surprising because this operation happened, just early in the morning, overnight, as a matter of fact, after the presidential inauguration in Iran. In the Israeli media, how are you seeing it? Your first assessment of what happened, Lital?
Yes, as you said, it's a day of celebration because we are talking about Hamas leader, about the number one personality in the Hamas terror organization. So for Israel, it's a great day. This was the man who was responsible for the horrific massacre on October 7th. This was the man who was responsible for the murder of 1,200 innocent Israelis, women, men, children, babies. This was the man who abducted 240 hostages into the Gaza Strip. Half of them are still being held in the Gaza Strip. So yes, in Israel, it's a great success. It's a great success for the Israeli military, and it's a great success for the Israeli intelligence.
Colonel Avital, I wanted to ask you a question about whether this is going to be something that leads to an escalation from Iran's side, because Iran has reacted to this killing on their territory as well. Do you see a response from Iran, sir?
If you're talking to me, sure. I think the Iranian, this is a breach of their sovereignty, and if they would come to the conclusion, which I think they came, that Israel is behind it, they have to find a venue to react or to retaliate. It doesn't have to be a venue like it used to be in the 13th of October. It doesn't have to be a massive missile attack. It can be also in the secretive warfare. It can be attack against our diplomats abroad. I mean, they would calculate and calibrate a reaction. We have to be prepared. And of course, there is the front of Hezbollah, because adding to this Haniyeh assassination, there was the assassination of number 2 in Hezbollah in Beirut early evening yesterday, which is also a major success. No collateral damage, clean hit. Somebody who's number 2 responsible for the terrible massacre of the kids in the Golan Heights, the 12 kids of the Druze community. So we have to also expect the front with Hezbollah to erupt. We have to be very prepared. Who knows? I think in the short term escalation, the long term, who knows?
Okay, short-term escalation is possible, long-term remains uncertain. Let's never forget that, over 100 Israeli hostages continue to, are believed to be still inside Gaza. Their condition is unclear at this time. Little, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, do you think the killing of the Hamas chief will speed up the return of hostages or possibly escalate the situation in the short term, like Colonel Avital says?
It's a good question, and it's a question we're asking ourselves here in Israel. In my opinion, it will help the release of the hostages, because as we've seen in the past, the more pressure, the more military pressure you're putting on Hamas, whether it's inside the Gaza Strip or whether it's taking down from the air heads of Hamas, in my opinion, is helping the surrender of Hamas and is helping creating some sort of a deal, because talking about hostage deal basically means Hamas is also getting some of their demands of Israel withdrawing from certain parts of the Gaza Strip. So in my opinion, the more military pressure that you are putting on Hamas, the more military pressure that you are putting on Hamas heads, the better. This is a signal for the rest of the heads of Hamas, the heads of Hezbollah. Israel is saying, you are next. So if they want to end the war, and if they want to continue to live side by side with Israel, they must immediately release the hostages and just surrender, because Israel will not allow a terror organization controlling the Gaza Strip after October 7th.
Colonel Avital, you touched upon the level of intelligence that would have been required to kill Ismail Haniyeh, that too in Tehran. And we know about the relations between Israel and Tehran, so this would have been a very, very complicated operation, the details of which obviously we don't know just yet. But, Ismail Haniyeh is otherwise based in Qatar. He's moved around a bit. It's taken 10 months to finally track him down and kill him. Talk to us about that, the complexities of actually tracking a high-value target of this kind. People will also be asking, why wasn't he taken out earlier, perhaps in Qatar? Could you explain that to our viewers, sir?
Yes, sure. First of all, prior to the 7th of October, the Israeli Mossad, and we took some responsibility for some operation, was operating in some major operation in Iran, like we succeeded to take the archive of the nuclear documents. We succeeded to hit people that were responsible for the nuclear program in Iran. So the Mossad in Israel proved its capabilities to operate within Iran. It was always an embarrassment to the Iranian regime. But I was thinking that after the 7th of October, they would be more careful. And it seemed that the intelligence, if it's Israel, the intelligence proved itself. Why not Qatar? You see, Qatar, we shouldn't forget, it's also an American base. Qatar is really a mediator between us and in the context of the hostage deal, whatever the cards they are playing, but they are officially in the mediation interval between us and Hamas. But Iran is an enemy territory from our perspective. We always exchange publicly missiles and attacks. So attacking, if it's Israel, attacking within Iran, it's a legitimate context, and this is an arch-enemy. And the opportunity arises, and you need to have a window of opportunity for such an attack. It's not enough their basic intelligence and the way to operate within Iran, but you need this clean window of opportunity where you can attack, and this is what was executed here.
tiny window of opportunity that's been used by Israel. Lital, the theories that have been doing the rounds about, how Ismail Haniyeh was finally killed have been swirling. That fog of war is still there. You're a journalist. You understand how there's a lot of speculation. There was one report that said that Haniyeh was killed while he was taking a shower. Others talk about a commando raid. But I think most people now agree that it was some kind of an aerial strike. How are you reading it in the Israel media? How was Ismail Haniyeh killed?
So yeah, Israel is still, for us in Israel, we are still basically us, the journalists, still trying to get information about the way Ismail Haniyeh was being taken down. We know it was some sort of an airstrike. We still don't know whether it was a missile or a drone. At the moment, Tehran, Iran is not giving enough information for us to know the full picture. But we do know yesterday, as you mentioned, he was in the inauguration of the new Iranian president, which gave Israel an opportunity to take him down, because usually he's hiding in Qatar. Usually that's his place of seek. And I think it's an enormous message that Israel is sending, not just to Hamas and not just to Iran's proxies, but to Iran. Israel is basically saying to Iran, we will not be afraid to activate within your territory if you are hiding those terrorists, when you're giving shields to the heads of Hamas. And we know that at the end of the day, the one who is operating its proxies, the one who is in charge of everything that we're going through, from the rockets from Gaza and the rockets from Hezbollah, is Iran. Iran is the head of this whole operation. And if Iran wants to end the war, Iran can just say the word and make its proxies end this immediately. So Israel is also sending an important message to Iran.
Are we looking at, and this is my final question to the both of you, Colonel Avital, to you first, is the possibility of a direct confrontation between Iran and Israel more likely now? I know you answered that question in part, but other than attacks by the proxies, is there a possibility or an increased possibility now of some kind of a direct exchange?
We have to take it into account. We had it in the 13th of April, but I do want to emphasize that we are in a coalition game. So we heard Lloyd Austin talking about that the US would stand by Israel if Israel is attacked, as they did in the 13th of April with other members of the coalition. So Israel, we and our coalition should think in terms of a coalition game and against the coalition led by Iran with its proxies, and also supporters like Russia, China, whatever. So we have to be very careful. Escalation is really a possibility, whether it's regional, whether it goes more. This is something we have to worry about. But escalation is really a possibility in the near future for sure.
Lital, same question to you. Iran, Israel. I was in Israel for a few weeks last year after the October 7th attack, reporting on how this entire story was playing out. And I remember talk of a possible exchange between Iran and Israel was constantly in the air, but most people agreed it'll still most likely be through proxies. Do you see that continuing, or do you see that escalating?
I think at the end of the day, it's inevitable. At the end of the day, Israel will need to find the time and the place to attack Iran. Because as we speak, as the whole world is focusing on what is going on in Israel with the rockets from Hezbollah and the rockets from Hamas, Iran is continuing to enrich uranium, and it's doing it rapidly. And America at the moment is been dealing with its own internal elections, and Iran knows that, and Iran is enjoying the fact that the world is not pressuring it. So I think sooner or later, Israel will need to do what Israel will need to do to try and prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear country. And I think it needs to be done ASAP.
Lital Shemesh and Lieutenant Colonel Doron Avital, it's always a pleasure getting that perspective directly from Israel on this unfolding story. Very much appreciate your time here on India Today. Thank you so much. Now I want to bring in India Today's managing editor Gaurav Sawant, who along with me reported from Israel in the days after the October 7th attack. Gaurav and I were there on the front lines for many weeks in Israel, at the Gaza border, in the Palestinian territories, reporting on a story that continues even 10 months later. Gaurav, the first question I want to ask you is, what are you hearing from within the Indian government? India has very close relations with Israel. It has good relations with Iran as well. Indian Minister Nitin Gadkari was there similarly for the president's inauguration in Tehran as well. What are you hearing from the Indian government at this time, Gaurav?
So we're only hearing from sources who are monitoring all developments very closely. There isn't an official reaction just as yet from Government of India at any level. As you very rightly pointed out, India is very close to Iran, and at the inauguration of the new Iranian president's office, when a new Iranian president took office, Nitin Gadkari, Union Minister and one of the senior most ministers in the Narendra Modi government, he represented India there. It's also very critical because that Chabahar port and that access is extremely important. So Iran and India remain very close allies, as do India and Israel on the security setup, on the strategic setup. And also when Israel needed a lot of manpower after stopping all Palestinians from coming in the wake of October 7 terror attack, then a lot of Indians went in to provide that manpower to keep, their industry chugging, their and also their healthcare. So India and Israel are also equally close. But right now, India's just hoping that the situation does not escalate, that the Houthi rebels do not, target civilian ships extensively in the Red Sea area, because that is where India has a very important role to play to ensure that the sea lanes of communication are terror-free and are open for trade. That is India's principal concern, as that remains a principal concern for most democracies across the region.
Very, very interesting. We'll wait and see if the Indian government articulates a view on what is taking place. Very understandable that it will be waiting and watching as the many different unknown pieces fall into place, especially the role of the United States, as it were, in what has just taken place in Tehran. We'll be tracking that story very closely. Gaurav and I will very likely be headed back to Israel in case of a possible escalation, to continue reporting a war that has a very real effect on peace in the global south and especially in the Eastern Hemisphere. Let's track all of those updates right here and online on India Today. Very quick break here on 5 Live. On the other side, we're shifting focus from the war in Israel and the death of the Hamas chief to the big story that we've been campaigning all through this week. The Delhi High Court today has echoed India Today reportage on the deaths of the 3 IAS students in the heart of Delhi. An angry High Court has taken the AAP government in Delhi and the Delhi police to the cleaners. We'll tell you how.
To say hello, I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
The India Today Media Institute could not have been founded on a firmer footing. The India Today Group's strength in understanding and delivering high-quality content is the very foundation of ITMI. We take pride in training our students to be exceptionally professional.
Register now at www.indiatodaymediainstitute.in or call on 95600 65465.
देश के लोगों का जाति पूछेंगे और राहुल गांधी का जाति को नहीं पूछ सकते हैं, ये कौन सा तरीका है? अब अखिलेश यादव को भी देख लीजिए, वो राहुल गांधी के साथ खड़ा रहते हैं। वो यही लोग हैं जो जाति पूछते रहते हैं हर सुबह शाम, जाति जाति, और इन लोगों का जाति नहीं पूछ सकता। ये देश से बड़ा है। ये सड़क से लेकर के संसद तक हिंसा फैलाना चाहते हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी, और वो जाति के नाम से देश को तोड़ना चाहते हैं, और उसके नेता का जाति पूछने पर फिर वो आपत्ति होता है। फिर राहुल गांधी को किसने ये पावर दिया है कि पूरे देश के लोगों की जाति पूछ के घूमे?
ये तो अनर्गल काम कर रहे हैं, ये बेमतलब का कर रहे हैं। इनको हमारे गांव में कहावत है, रोने का मन हुआ तो आंख में गड़ी खुट्टी। इनको हर बेल में जाना है, इनको डिस्टर्ब करना है उसको। अगर जाति कोई पूछता है तो क्या बुरा है? अगर हमसे कोई जाति पूछे तो हम, अगर जाति में हमको तकलीफ क्या है? हमारे धर्म पूछे हमें तकलीफ क्या है? तो राहुल गांधी से भी मैं भी पूछता हूँ, राहुल जी बताएं आपका धर्म क्या है, आपकी जाति क्या है? ये कौन सी बात होगी?
विपक्ष नाराज हो गया इस चीज पर।
विपक्ष नाराज नहीं हुआ, उसे हाउस को डिस्टर्ब करना है।
Are you also one of those who looks into their phone the moment they wake up, just like I'm doing right now? Do you also prefer a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, even before having a glass of water? Well, let me tell you, these daily habits are actually ruining your health.
A cup of coffee first thing in the morning, empty stomach, can cost you. Since coffee happens to be a diuretic, which essentially means it causes your body to pass more urine. Your body is already dehydrated, since your last intake of water would have been about 7 to 8 hours prior.
These processed cereals are a favorite with the kids. But no matter how they're promoted, they are what they are. Ultra-processed packaged consumables. I won't even call them food.
Experts recommend having proteins and fats for breakfast, like those including eggs, oatmeals, berries and nuts. So what should you be doing instead? Good to start writing a gratitude journal, take a walk, even consider not using your phone 2 hours before you go to bed. A digital detox, so to speak. Another surprising habit that could be taken away from the quality of life is mouth breathing. It's literally that, causing tooth decay and infections. Moreover, mouth breathing can cause the tongue to roll back while sleeping, and this could block airways, causing snoring and sleep apnea, both of which interrupt healthy sleeping. Be mindful of these ostensibly harmless habits that, after all, are not harmless. With Chetna Vasudevan, Bureau Report, India Today.
Viewer, it has taken India today's unrelenting questioning of the investigation into the deaths of 3 IAS aspirants in Delhi for the dam to finally break today. After raising repeated questions about the shameful buck passing by the Delhi government, the cowardly shifting of blame by the Aam Aadmi Party-controlled Municipal Corporation of Delhi, and the absurd priorities of the Delhi police, our demand for accountability finally found an angry echo today in the Delhi High Court. The MCD has become a joke. How come nobody from the MCD has been arrested? The Delhi police is busy arresting bystanders, thundered the High Court judge today, issuing a brutal verdict on how the Delhi administration and law and order machinery have acted in the wake of the tragic loss of young lives. Here on this show, all through this week, you know it, you've seen it, I've been demanding to know why not a single person from the MCD has even been questioned so far, let alone arrested. I've been demanding to know how the MCD, its municipal commissioner, the Delhi mayor Shelley Oberoi, and deputy mayor can really duck accountability for this tragedy, despite living proof that the system was pre-alerted to the dangers of flooding at this precise IAS coaching school, Vows IAS Study Circle. The Delhi High Court's words today are a breath of fresh air, giving us some hope that the system will be shamed into action. Today, after days of public shaming and exposure, the Delhi government announced belated action against coaching centers in Delhi, plainly admitting that it took the lives of 3 promising young civil services aspirants for them to do their basic job, provide a safe environment for citizens and students. The public trusts the Delhi government to now do the right thing. But the Delhi police, which reports to the central government's home ministry, hasn't escaped the court's wrath either. In its eagerness to demonstrate action, isn't it clear that the Delhi police has perhaps overstepped? As citizens, we always trust the police to act in a fair manner at all times. But the ludicrous charging of an SUV driver with culpable homicide while not acting against those who literally permitted the deaths of the students to happen has horrified Indian civil society and reflects poorly on the Delhi police's priorities. It has sent out the message that any citizen unlucky enough to be in the proximity of a crime or tragedy could be picked up and could be fair game in the course of the criminal justice system. The public trusts the Delhi police to do the right thing. Justice for Shreya, Tanya and Naveen cannot be allowed to evaporate like the waters outside that coaching center that killed them.
The tragic flooding at Vows IAS coaching center in Delhi exposed criminal negligence. The Delhi High Court, while hearing a PIL, has taken a tough stand over the apathy and has slammed the civic authorities. The High Court said that the Municipal Corporation of Delhi had become a joke and summoned its commissioner on Thursday. Taking a swipe at authorities, the court said the MCD needs to build infrastructure, but it's bankrupt and can't even pay salaries. The court also pulled up the police for its probe. The court labelled the investigation as strange, questioning the police on the arrest of a passerby and none from the MCD.
They knew all the illegalities, what is going on in overall Delhi and in Rajendra Nagar as well. And they have called Commissioner of MCD, the IO as well as the DCP concerned. The Honorable Court has also said that what action has been taken against those MCD officers, has they been prosecuted, has they been made accused in this case. So all the respondent will come on Friday with all the preparation, all their what they want to say in this matter.
Students gathered in large numbers in the national capital on Wednesday, continuing their protest to justice. As of now, they are yet not happy with the responses that have come in from the state system. They suggest that they want a concrete response, post which only they will move from the hunger strike. Since yesterday they started the hunger strike, some of the students today have now gone to meet the MCD commissioner. This is in the while that the Delhi police was requesting them to end their protest. To just give you an understanding, the Bada Bazaar stretch has also been, the barricades have been removed. The Delhi police has also started slow movement of traffic on this stretch.
तो नाराजगी
Meanwhile, Vikas Divya Kirti, a teacher and owner of Drishti IAS, broke his silence on recent deaths of 3 aspirants. Divya Kirti claimed that the issue of students' safety is more complicated than it appears.
ऐसे मामले में कोई एक बलि का बकरा सबको चाहिए होता है, उससे चीज़ें थोड़ी आसान हो जाती हैं। प्रशासन के लिए आसान हो जाता है कि हम बच गए, एक का नाम लगा दो। समाज को भी एक सीधी सीधी बात समझ में आती है कि अच्छा एक आदमी मिल गया, यही जिम्मेदार था, तो वो तसल्ली मिल जाती है कि चलो हमें दोषी मिल गया। वजहें सबकी अपनी अपनी हैं, लेकिन सबके पास एक सुविधाजनक नाम है कि उसको गाली दो।
The court's sharp observations underline the gravity of the situation and need for accountability. So far, there are no signs of accountability being fixed for the tragedy that took place in Delhi. With Shreya Chatterjee in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
And the breaking news coming in right now is that the Delhi High Court has rejected bail of all 5 accused who were arrested on the second day after the deaths of the IAS aspirant students. The bail for SUV driver Manoj Kathuria has also been denied by the Delhi High Court. Remember, the Delhi police had labelled him as a masti-khor in the court yesterday and said that he played a role as well. Remember, he's been charged with culpable homicide. No joke whatsoever, and we've been highlighting the absurdity of this arrest. The SUV driver's bail plea hearing will be taking place on August 7th next. So his bail has been denied for the moment. In fact, Shima Kathuria, the husband of Manoj Kathuria, the SUV driver who was arrested, is with me on the phone line for a first reaction. Shima, your husband has been arrested, which has already been a shock. He's been denied bail now, culpable homicide. What would you like to say about this at this time?
I think it's a huge blow to the trust that a law-abiding citizen and common man puts into systems and institutions, and we refuse to accept the allegations. My husband that day was just driving to the metro station from home to drop a couple of individuals who couldn't leave otherwise because it had just started pouring. So after he got home, he told me at one point he noticed a lot of water on the road and saw a gentleman walk through with water coming up till his calves. He thought it was a safe level for the car to go through. When the car turned, all of a sudden he realized that the water had come up till the bonnet. And at that point, he couldn't back the car. He had to move forward to get to a safe spot. The car was in first gear. All of us have seen that video. There was no rash driving, nor was the car speeding. He was just an innocent passerby trying to get to a safe spot. And there were no police barricades or traffic diversions.
Shima Kathuria, difficult time for you and your family. We will continue to highlight the story. Thanks for speaking to India Today. Now, I want to tell you, viewer, that the Delhi High Court had very harsh words. They've denied bail to Manoj Kathuria and 4 others, but the Delhi High Court had very, very harsh words about the investigation so far. They've said that the MCD is a joke. They've said, how come nobody from the MCD has been arrested? How come bystanders and passers-by have been arrested instead of real action against the MCD? Well, bringing on to my show today is India Today's Shreya Chatterjee and Arvind Ojha, the head of our crime bureau. These 2 brave journalists have been doing the work that the system should have been doing from day one. Take a look at the images on your screen. That is Arvind and Shreya, both cornering and demanding answers from MCD officials on the ground. The people who should have been either arrested or at least questioned by the police and the system so far. Our reporters have been doing that job, and today the court has shamed the Delhi government, the MCD, as well as the Delhi police over why the MCD officials have not been brought to task. Take a look at both these images, and both those reporters are live with me. Arvind, Delhi High Court का जो words हैं आज, वो बहुत ही हार्श है. वो पूछ रहे हैं कि एमसीडी के लोग क्यों गिरफ्तार नहीं हुए अभी तक, और हम अभी हमारे दर्शकों को दिखा रहे हैं कि कैसे पहले दिन पे आप और श्रेया ने यही एमसीडी ऑफिशियल से को ग्रिल किया. आपने ही पहले दिन से इनको क्वेश्चन किया है.
बिल्कुल शिव, और इसके साथ ही साथ हम अपने व्यूवर्स को अलर्ट करना चाहते हैं कि अगर दिल्ली एनसीआर के कि अगर कहीं वाटर लॉगिंग है तो वो अपनी गाड़ी मत चलाइए। हो सकता है पुलिस आपको अरेस्ट कर ले। अगर जो दिल्ली में बाढ़ आ जाती है, जिस तरह से कहीं अगर दूर दराज के गांव में जिस तरह से बाढ़ आती है, अगर यहाँ पर बारिश होती है तो वाटर लॉगिंग हो जाती है, बाढ़ जैसी स्थिति होती है, तो आप गाड़ी बिल्कुल मत चलाइए। अदरवाइज अगर उसमें थोड़ा बहुत भी वेव आ गया तो दिल्ली पुलिस या फिर दिल्ली एनसीआर की पुलिस आपको अरेस्ट कर सकती है। वो अलग कि वाटर लॉगिंग जिस वजह से हो रही है, जो सिविक एजेंसी है जो इसके लिए जिम्मेदार है, वो अभी तक अरेस्टिंग नहीं है। उनको अभी तक इंटरोगेशन के लिए भी नहीं बुलाया गया। और लगातार चाहे मैं और चाहे मेरी कलीग है श्रेया, हमने राव आईएएस के सामने उन्हीं एमसीडी ऑफिशियल्स को कन्फ्रंट किया नेक्स्ट डे जब ये पूरा इंसिडेंट हुआ। उसके बाद वो एमसीडी ऑफिशियल वहां जो इंक्रोचमेंट था उसको डेमोलिश करने के लिए आए थे। हमने उनसे पूछा कि क्या ये पहले आपको नहीं दिखा ये इंक्रोचमेंट, क्या जो वहां पर ड्रेनेज सिस्टम था वो खराब था, वो आपको दिखा? वो उन सवालों का जवाब नहीं दे रहे थे। अभी तक दिल्ली पुलिस ने सिर्फ एमसीडी को नोटिस भेजकर ये पूछा है कि वहां पर ड्रेनेज सिस्टम की जिम्मेदारी किसकी थी। कोई भी अरेस्ट नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन एक जो गाड़ी का ड्राइवर जो वहां से अपनी कुछ फैमिली, कुछ रिलेटिव को छोड़कर जा रहा था, उसको जरूर दिल्ली पुलिस ने अरेस्ट किया है, जिस पर काफी ट्रोल भी किया दिल्ली पुलिस को। शिव,
Shreya and Arvind, stay with me. I just want to play a few seconds of the audio of Arvind's report. This is precisely what the Delhi High Court has said the Delhi police should have been doing. Listen into this.
सर ये आप भी आए हैं इनके साथ, तो ये ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बिल्डिंग मैनेजमेंट की जिम्मेदारी यहाँ आपकी है?
मैं सब काम करना था, ज्यादा अच्छा हमारे लिए।
पहले कर लेते काम ना सर।
कोई बात।
यहाँ पर इतना पानी है, वीडियो में दिख रहा है यहाँ पर, और वही पानी बेसमेंट के अंदर गया सर।
अरे सर,
उस वक्त कॉल आई थी
सर,
उस वक्त कॉल आई
सर, मैं अपना काम कर लूँ थोड़ा।
उस वक्त कॉल आई थी आपके पास?
मैं अपना काम कर लूँ
उस वक्त आप सर, ये आप कैमरे पर हैं, आप ये बताइए।
सर मैं अपना काम कर लेता हूँ प्लीज।
तो ये
Shreya, you know, your grilling of MCD officials on day one outside Rao's, IAS study circle is precisely what the Delhi High Court has echoed today. It's absurd that there has been no accountability whatsoever in the Municipal Corporation of Delhi. It's a validation of the brave work that's been done by you, Arvind, and our reporters on the ground, Shreya.
Well, thank you, Shiv. But, it's extremely unfortunate that time after time when such incidents happen in the national capital, the responsible system of the MCD in the capital is never really blamed for. This is not just one incident that we are talking about. Remember the deaths of those, babies in the neonatal center. Even then, no heads rolled in the MCD. And today also, there is nothing different. A junior engineer has been terminated. But what next? What about the senior officials? Why hasn't the senior level officials come on the ground as of now? That's exactly what the High Court suggested, that yes, there may be anger, there may be tension within the students, but you need to go and see the situation. Secondly, all these rampant sewers that have been covered, illegal encroachments, they knew about it all this while. Why did it have to be waited for the death of 3 students for this entire exercise to be carried out? And precisely the High Court has pulled up the MCD for that very reason. We only hope that on Friday, when the hearing continues, probably accountability will be fixed so far as the MCD is concerned.
Frontline reporters demanding accountability, and this is the impact it has. It has an echo in the Delhi High Court, and we will continue to keep the spotlight and the pressure on the Delhi administration. Shreya and Arvind, thank you for being with me. Take a look at what Shreya was asking that MCD official.
तो ये बिल्डिंग वालों ने ये सारे ड्रेन बंद करवाई थी, तो सर ये आप लोगों को पहले किसी ने रेज नहीं किया था?
ये करने नहीं देते ना, दादागिरी करते हैं हमारे को।
क्या दादागिरी करते हैं?
गुंडागर्दी है।
कैसे गुंडागर्दी, बताइए।
धमकाते हैं हमें कहीं से।
कौन आपको धमकाते हैं? एमसीडी वालों को धमकाते हैं?
अप्रोच करते हैं।
अच्छा, तो इसीलिए एमसीडी की तरफ से इतने दिन से एक्शन नहीं ले पाया।
कर रहे हैं मैडम।
अब आप लोग एक्शन ले रहे हो सर, लेकिन ये एक्शन आप लोग पहले लेते सर तो ये लोग बच जाते ना, 3 लोगों की मौत नहीं होती। इतने दिन से आप लोग क्यों नहीं एक्शन लिया? अगर आप लोगों को पता था कि ये कारण था, बताइए ना सर। पहले भी तो आप लोग एक्शन ले सकते थे। आप कह रहे हो आप लोगों को पता था, तो ये पहले एक्शन क्यों नहीं लिया गया? सर आप एमसीडी से हो, ये जिम्मेदारी तो आप लोगों की भी है। आप अगर कह रहे हैं कि आपको पता था ये ड्रेनेज ऐसे बंद था और आपको धमकाया जा रहा था,
चालू है, ड्रेन बंद नहीं है हमारा, रनिंग में।
ड्रेन का ओपनिंग बंद किया, आप कह रहे हैं?
ओपनिंग बंद की है इन्होंने।
तो ये आपको पता था, आप कह रहे दादागिरी है, किनकी दादागिरी है बताइए
मैडम,
सर?
खुलवा रहे हैं
लोगों की जान चली गई।
मैडम खुलवा रहे हैं मैडम, करवा
नहीं, इतने दिन तक क्यों नहीं हुआ?
कर रहे हैं मैम, कर रहे हैं।
वो तो अब होना है सर, जब ऑलरेडी 3 लोगों की जान चली गई है। तो ये बिल्डिंग वालों ने ये सारे ड्रेन बंद।
And our coverage of that story will continue after this very short break. A big India Today impact. The UPSC has finally woken up and permanently barred IAS fraud Pooja Khedkar, who, mind you, is still absconding. Full update next.
हम और आप लोग कभी व्यवहारिक मजाक करते हैं तो उसमें चलो एक बार को कोई बात मजाक में चली जाए, लेकिन सदन में जो शब्द का इस्तेमाल हुआ था, मुझे तो ये लगता है अनुराग ठाकुर जी को कहा गया है कि 99 बार गाली खा करके आओ आप सदन में, तब आप मंत्री बनोगे। जिसको जाति को लेकर के शिकायत हो, दिक्कत हो, परेशानी हो, उसे आज ही किताब खरीद लेनी चाहिए मंडल कमीशन की और उसकी प्रस्तावना पढ़नी चाहिए, और प्रस्तावना के साथ साथ हमारे संविधान की प्रस्तावना भी पढ़नी चाहिए, जिसमें सोशलिस्ट कंट्री की बात कही है, जिसमें गैर बराबरी खत्म करने का रास्ता दिखाया गया है।
राहुल जी ने जो कहा है सही तो कहा है। देश के अंदर जब तक ये आप पता नहीं करोगे कि कौन किसकी तादाद कितनी है, तब तक आप किसी की मदद कैसे कर पाओगे।
और अनुराग ठाकुर ने जिस तरीके से कल बात कही है, लोग
अनुराग ठाकुर साहब को तमीज सीखनी चाहिए।
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 40 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 35 and minimum 28 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 26 and minimum 20 degrees.